when the motivation is gone, it's about being consistent till the motivation comes back.
Leave me alone. Go out west. Give me your phone. Going out west. Leave me alone.
What's going on, everybody? It's that ordinary podcaster with the extraordinary thoughts that tells you to stop being great and be extraordinary. I'm Meech Speaks, also known as Meech Speaks, and welcome back to another episode of Talkin Crazy. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Bro, for the first time, on Instagram, I've never thought that I would actually have to do this, but I had to turn my comments off on a video. You know what I mean? And when I say it out loud, man, I think this is the first time I actually had to say it out loud, but when I say it out loud, I just get so frustrated and just so upset about the exact situation. Like I'm actually like legitimately mad that I have to turn my comments off. And for those who don't know, I had dropped a video, I want to say back in November, about Veterans Day. And it talked about the shitbag person that was a detriment to their platoon, a cancer within the platoon, nothing grew within the platoon, caused nothing but havoc, celebrating Veterans Day and saying thank you for their service. I did not know that there was that many people that would be very upset about that video. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know that it would be that many people that was upset about it, And it went up during November, and then it just finally came back around again. Like, I don't know if it was Instagram's algorithm or what that is, but it came back around, and for a whole day straight, I've just been getting straight messages. You know what I mean? And I really want to just clear something up, because if I don't clear this up, it won't sit right on my spirit. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't clear this up, it's not going to sit right on my spirit. When I turn my comments off, it's not because I need a mental break. That's not it. You know what I mean? It's not because, oh, the comments are mean. No, it's not that either. I promise you that. It's something about somebody that hides behind a private profile that thinks that they can say something to me when I know that they can't say anything to me in real life. And when I said that I know that they wouldn't say anything to me in real life, I know people like this that are very comfortable with being able to sit back online and talk shit online. And if you ever saw them in person, they would look at the ground when you walk by. They will act like they don't know you if you walk by. They'll go in a different direction and when you walk by. And I know that, man, because this isn't the first time that I've ever gotten any negative comments. You know what I mean? This isn't when I dropped Not a Marine 24/7. I got a lot of bad comments about that. You know what I mean? Like, I ended up having to do like a couple of interviews because of that video. When I did They're the Same Rank as You, I got a couple of bad comments from that. But I think what really bothered me the most on this time around is the fact that the average watch time was 12 seconds and the video is 51 seconds long. I'll say that again. The average watch time is 12 seconds. The overall video is 51 seconds. So you have a 1 minute video, but the watch time is just a little bit over 10 seconds. So all they heard was, thank you for your service, you're a shitbag, and they immediately went to the comment section. And it what gets me is like, how can you be so emotional about something? You know what I mean? Like, how can you be so emotional about something and you're not even properly educated? And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna tell you right now, man, like, one thing about me, I get dragged into the comment section, and this is something that's probably gonna be my New Year's resolution. I'm not even about to lie to you. Like, this is probably gonna be something that's my New Year's resolution, because when you go low, I go to hell. You know what I mean? Like, when you go low, I go to hell. And I'm talking about, like, if you say something weird to me, I'm immediately saying some raw shit back. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, hey, listen, brother, you can't say that. I'm like this. I'm not your fucking brother. Your mother did not birth me. I did not come from them sorry ass ovaries. Do not talk to me like that. But no matter how many people that I would argue back and forth with, and I think I stayed in my comment section for about an hour fighting with trolls behind a private profile that can say some wild shit to me and I can't say anything back. I'm sending out personal messages. I'm saying, like, hey, let's have a conversation. Why don't you make your profile public? Let's talk on the phone. And all of that, nobody's answering. So they're saying things to me, but I'm not able to say anything back. And I had to take a step back, man. And I just said, like, you know what? Just turn them off, bro. Just turn them off, because they feel good being able to say something to you, and you don't like the fact that you can't say anything back to them. So I had to just turn them off. I really wanted to just say that real quick and just get that one off my chest. But the one thing that I really wanted to ask, because this right here just don't sit right with me. When did becoming a shitbag become the cool thing? And I'll say that again and I'll clear it up. But when did being a shitbag be the cool thing? You know what I mean? Like call me crazy, man, because at some point the term shitbag probably changed over the years, you know? Like, I don't know if the shitbag term became something that is now the cool thing to do, but when did it become so cool to be? Because I know when they called me a shitbag, right, it was because I was going out of town getting in trouble, you know? I know when they called me a shitbag, it was because I was getting arrested out in town. I know when they called me a shitbag, it was because I got NJP'd. So when did being something that is a detriment to everybody around you, you're constantly causing trouble, and I say causing trouble and not finding trouble, or let me rephrase, getting into trouble, because somebody that's probably a detriment to the platoon, probably a cancer around everybody, is somebody that is usually causing the problems. The moment that they leave work, they about to go cause a problem. Let me rephrase that. The moment that they're at work, they're causing the problem. And I don't know who need to hear this. And maybe a lot of people who are just new to my page, but one thing that you're going to find here is that I'm not fake. There ain't no fake motivation. There ain't no false positivity. And I feel like a lot of y'all are so used to fake motivation and false positivity that when you meet somebody that's straightforward, that's blunt, that's honest, you perceive that shit as negativity. And because you perceive that shit as negativity, let me rephrase, but because you feel like they're being blunt and they're being honest and they're not giving you the accolades that you feel like you deserve, you feel like they're being negative. But the reality is that they're seeing you for what you really are. They're seeing you for the potential that you may have. They're recognizing the subpar work that you're giving, and they're saying that this isn't fucking good enough. So I will say it again. When did doing the bare minimum become the cool thing? I saw a couple of comments, they talking about, well, your shitbag Marine is your hardest worker. And I'm like, I think we have two different fucking definitions. They're like, this place wouldn't work without being a shitbag. I saw a couple of that said, like, I'm proud to be that. And I just cannot wrap my head around that, man. Because I know when they called me a shitbag, I didn't like it. But at the exact same time, I knew at some point, man, like I was the one that was fucking up. So I asked, man, like, when did becoming a shitbag become the cool thing? When did doing the bare minimum become the cool thing? When was it okay? And until I can figure out exactly when, man, I don't know when I can turn my comments back on. Because right now I got a whole bunch of emotionally charged shitbags. I got a bunch of emotionally charged shitbags that feel like I offended them when I actually am talking about something so much bigger. So much bigger. So just like what I had said, as we peel back the layers, man, like I feel like a lot of people don't really understand what a shitbag Marine is, or what a shitbag service member is, or what a shitbag coworker is, or a comrade in arms. And I'll be the first one to break it down for you. Your shitbag more than likely doesn't give a fuck about nobody else around them. I will start that part off right there. I'm 100% sure they don't care about anybody else around them. The shitbag is more than likely probably fucking selfish, And I'll be the first one to tell you that it is definitely not your fucking junior Marine with his loose sleeves and his low blue blousings. That is not your shitbag Marine. Your shitbag Marine is the one that you cannot put on simple taskers because they don't give a fuck. They complain about every single thing that goes on around them, and they are a constant negative in the platoon. And when I say they're a constant negative, as soon as they come in, they're complaining about the showtime. They're complaining about why we're here. They're complaining about the job. They're complaining about every little tasker because it feels as if it's an inconvenience to them. Like, more than likely, this person probably gets fapped out because he's constantly just doing shit, or he's just an eyesore around. More than likely, this person has way got out of height and weight standards and doesn't care anymore. You know what I mean? More than likely, this person doesn't help facilitate anything, you know? And I get it. A lot of people want a fucking underdog story, but the reality is that most of the time your shitbag Marine ends up turning into your toxic leader, you know? And I remember this situation, bro, because when I was a junior Marine, you know what I mean? Like when I was a junior Marine, I was a shitbag. I tell you right now, the corporals that were above me, you know what I mean, that were in charge of me, they became good corporals because they had to deal with me on a regular basis. I had a bad attitude, you know. I came from Detroit, Michigan, and it was just something about people yelling or talking to me like I'm fucking crazy that just never sat back with me. You know, when I would go out in town, I'm constantly getting into some shit. Sometimes it was my fault, other times it wasn't, but I was constantly getting into something. And I wasn't that cool guy that was super salty, that just knew his job. No, I was just somebody that just did not fucking like the people that I was around, you know. And when I say that a shitbag can turn around, they really can though. They can. But this is the thing, is that a shitbag junior Marine is usually faced with two things. Let me rephrase that, actually three. They either become a real good leader, they become a toxic leader, or they get out and become a fucking vet, bro. And I will say this one right here, man, like, cause I don't know who needs to hear this, but a lot of you fucking veterans actually sucked while y'all were serving. And I ain't trying to put you down, but the way that y'all fucking act on social media just tells me everything that I need to fucking know. That what you did in the military, you feel like somebody owes you a cookie. Somebody owes you something. But the reality is that it's not like that. You joined just like everybody else. You was in control of your destiny just like everybody else. But because your career didn't play out the way that you wanted it to play out, you can't stand to see somebody online that is fucking flourishing in this organization. You can't stand to see any type of service member online that's going above and beyond. And you feel safe hiding behind your profile. You feel safe hiding behind your keyboard because you know that you will never see these people in your life. But I digress. Your shitbag Marine could possibly either be a toxic leader or he can be a great leader. There's no real in between outside of the vet bro thing. And I say that because I was the shitbag Marine that transitioned into becoming a top tier performer. And I don't know who need to hear this, but if you're listening to this episode and you feel like you at a low point in your career, you feel me? You feel like people counting you out. You feel like you just can't make a change for the better. I really need you to listen to this piece right here, bro. I really do. Because when I was a junior Marine, there was a moment where I had to sit down in my room and I had to say, Demetrius, you got to get your shit together. I was facing administrative separation. I had already been arrested twice while I was in. I hadn't even gotten NJP'd yet. And I had to tell myself, like, dog, man, like, you really need to get your shit together. And if I didn't tell myself that I needed to get my shit together, I don't know where I would have been. Even when I got the NJP, I sat there, man, and I said to myself, like, if I can just come back from this NJP, and that's really what the biggest thing is that a lot of people do not fucking survive that transition into becoming a top tier performer. And when they don't survive that transition, they end up getting out with a piss poor attitude and a negative taste in their mouth. And they're willing to fucking complain and bitch to anybody that will fucking listen. So that transition is hard, bro. But that first thing that you got to do when you transition it is that you got to tell yourself that you got to get your shit together. And I remember really sitting down and double down on what I'm saying and not just saying it, but actually putting my words into action when I got NJP. Battalion level NJP'd, almost went up to court martial, 2 counts of assault. I ain't gonna get into the details of it. Just understand that I was actually getting wild out there. And I remember saying, like, man, if I can just get one more fucking chance. If I get one more chance, I promise you, man, I'll never look back. And that's exactly what I did. Now, I will be the one to tell you this, though, that if you do not survive this transition, it will kill you on the inside because you will feel like you could have gave more. But as you go through this transition, a lot of people will quit halfway through and revert back to who they are. They will revert back to who they are. And what I mean by that, because you had some type of adversity, because people looked at you like you were just low at some point, because people remembered that you were a detriment, that you were causing trouble, that you were doing things that you weren't supposed to do, they will hold that shit above your head. And you can't get mad at them for it. I understand exactly what I just said. You don't want to you can't get mad at them for holding that shit above your head. Because at some point you did that shit and you gotta own up to it. The hardest thing about making that transition is that you gotta have some type of accountability. You understand that, yeah, man, I got some bad shit on my record, but I got all of this good. I'm outperforming every single person, and that was the one thing that I had to fucking do, man. And I really want to just give somebody that advice that's really facing this type of shit. That you gotta perform, you gotta outperform every single person that comes up against you, because no matter what you do, you will always be in second place if you choose to stay average. So if you want to get in first place, you got to do things that first place ain't even fucking doing. You always got to go above and beyond. Will it be tiring? Absolutely. Will you feel like you ain't getting the credit that you deserve? Absolutely. Will you feel like as if like you're just constantly getting shortchanged? 100%. But at some point, if you want to survive that transition, you already got to come in knowing that you fucking are going down. You got your foot to the fucking metal. But just like what I said, for those who don't survive that transition, they end up getting out, becoming some type of fucking vet bro that's upset with everybody because of how their career played out. But there's another thing that a lot of people don't realize. And this was the thing that I was talking about in the video. A lot of toxic leaders were shitbags. They were the shitbag Marine that just stayed under the radar. He stayed out the way. He did the very bare minimum, and nobody knew because there was somebody else that was causing more trouble than them. When it was time to probably get fapped out, they raised their hand and they disappeared. They really do not give a fuck about this organization. They just stay in because there's benefits involved. They probably got a whole bunch of kids can't afford to get out. They know, and when I say that, they got a whole bunch of kids that can't afford to go out, get out because they ain't got shit going for them. More than likely, they really don't care about the junior Marines under their charge. They hate coming in to fucking work. More than likely, they done got 3 Ps if they a staff NCO. These people were the ones that were shitbags as well. They just didn't get in any trouble. And the problem is that because everybody realized that they were incompetent and they didn't give a fuck about their job, nobody tasked them out. Nobody applied any pressure on them. And what they ended up doing is a tale that's old as hell in the Marine Corps. They tasked out the gut Marine. They tasked out the guy that they knew that was going to get the job. They tasked out the guy that they knew that they could count on. But the problem is when you constantly are tasking this type of Marine out, they get oversaturated. They put over his head that eventually he'll get promoted, say that they're going to give him some good pros and cons. Meanwhile, he can see that that piece of shit does not earn his fucking keep in this organization. He can see that that piece of shit is doing the bare minimum and he's getting paid just as he is. And that does not sit right with him. And that's why a lot of times you will see the good Marines get out. And when a good Marine gets out, it's because they say, and usually when a good Marine gets out, they say that they're tired of the bullshit. Do you know what the bullshit is? The bullshit is seeing somebody do the bare fucking minimum and they get the exact same pay as you. The bullshit is seeing somebody that went home early when you chose to stay late to work on a tasker because your platoon needed you. The bullshit is seeing somebody who really does not give a fuck about this organization still fucking get promoted because they didn't do enough fucking paperwork. They didn't give them enough page 11s, and this motherfucker ends up the exact same rank as you, and nobody says anything but fucking complain about the situation. And then you get tasked out again. So they get out. They get out and they find somewhere where they'll be appreciated for their hard work. They'll be appreciated for their taskers. They'll be appreciated for their work ethic. And that leaves that fucking shitbag. And then he gets promoted. He goes to his PME. He stays under the fucking radar. Everybody knows he's a piece of shit. They can't put no fucking body up under him because they know that he ain't gonna grow. But they ain't doing enough paperwork. And lo and behold, that motherfucker gets promoted again. And he just stays and he rides out his enlistment or he rides out his career. And in his wake is just nothing but fucking deceased good fucking Marines' careers and motherfucking more shitbags. That's why. So when I tell you that your toxic leader is more than likely your shitbag, it is. And I'll even break it down even further. Your shitbag Marine, that toxic leader, is that shitbag Marine that y'all let slip through the fucking cracks. That y'all got upset with the people who fucking called him out. He surrounded himself around other people that were pieces of shit that did not give a fuck. And nobody challenged him on the fact that he gave the bare minimum. Nobody said anything when that motherfucker left early and you stayed late. Nobody held him accountable because they kept saying like, what's the point? The point is that when you don't hold these type of people accountable, eventually they will get fucking promoted. The point is that these people are in it for the long run. And no matter what you do, no matter how many times you keep trying to ignore that shit, they will fucking stay. They will not get out. So with that being said, man, as we dived into this episode, I really just want to let y'all know this. A shitbag Marine is not somebody that has some loose sleeves, low boot blousings, probably got a bad attitude. When you think of a shitbag, stop thinking of the fucking junior Marine. Really take a step back because he's dead in your fucking face. The shitbag Marine is more than likely that fucking sergeant, that staff sergeant, hell, even your corporal who does not give a fuck about this organization. He probably fucking one of his junior Marines, taking advantage of it, showing up late, can't be trusted to submit the morning report, can't be trusted to handle the simplest of tasks, doesn't give a fuck about the Marines, let alone the organization as a whole, stays out the way, re-enlists. And then the good Marines just continue to keep getting out. And just like that, another extraordinary thought left this ordinary mind. I hope you enjoyed this episode half as much as I enjoyed making it. Now, do me a favor, if you're on Apple or Spotify, don't forget to leave a 5-star review for this podcast. And lastly, hit that subscribe button because this podcast deserves to grow just